Hello everyone, welcome back to AppDev channel. As part of asynchronous communications implementation using servers and events approach, what we have seen till now in the previous videos is we have developed the middleware job submit API, the backend job process API, and we have a SQS in between middleware and the backend system. Backend system is pushing the messages and the SQS is being listened from the middleware. Middleware is receiving the messages from the SQS. So that is what we have seen till now, right? We are submitting a job with an API call from the postman, and that is submitting the job to the middleware and to the backend. Updates are flowing from backend to the middleware, right? That's what we have seen till now. So in today's video, what we are going to do, whatever the messages we have received in the middleware layer, right? These messages, we have to give it to the UI layer, right? So for that, along with the job submission, whenever UI sends a job submit request, it receives the acknowledgement request after it was submitted from middleware to the backend system, right? So after that, after it has received the acknowledgement response from the middleware job submit API, the UI will have to open up a event listener stream. Okay, UI will have to open up a event listener stream to the job submit API. Then job submit API, whenever it receives a message from the SQS, it pushes the event, it pushes the message as an event to the UI layer, or to the stream that was open for that particular user. Okay, so in order to achieve this kind of event stream communication between the UI and the middleware, what we are going to do, we are going to use the Spring webflux framework. Okay, so in order to achieve the asynchronous communication, what we have used between middleware and backend system, we have used the AWS SQS and the Java JMS API. But we have to achieve the same asynchronous communication with an event stream for that between UI and the middleware, right? So for that we are going to use the Spring Web Flux. So what we are going to do, we are going to open up a expose an event stream listener from the middleware. For that UI will be opening up a stream. Okay, that's what we are going to do. Okay, let's start with the development of the middleware layer. Okay, so for that, what I'll do in the client workspace, right? This is my client workspace. Okay, here I'm going to create one another controller, the REST controller. It will be the job updates controller. Okay, so this job updates controller, I have to annotate with the REST controller. Okay, oh, okay. Now I have to create one method. Okay, in this controller, and this method will be the job updates method, and this method will be accepting the user ID who submitted the job and the job ID that was submitted by that user. Okay, both will be coming as the path params. Okay, so I am annotating them as path variables. Okay, so path variable. Now this method has to return something, right? So instead of returning some any Java type or something, right? Any string type or Boolean type, instead of returning that, this is an event stream method, right? So it has to return a, a server sent event object, uh, that which is wrapped inside a flux. Okay, so for that, what we are going to return, flux server sent event of object. any object, we can wrap it in server sent event, and that will be, flux will be of type server sent event. Okay, so for this one, what we have to do, we have to annotate this method with get mapping, and its path will be like this. Okay, job updates slash, and it will be having the user ID and the job ID, the job that was submitted by this user ID. Along with that, it also should be having one another attribute like produces, and its content type or the media type should be the event stream. Okay, so any method, if you want to return a flux web flux or server sent event, that method should be producing the event stream. Then only your clients or the UI layer will be able to open up an event stream listener to this particular endpoint. Okay. Now, what we have to do, we have to return a flux from here, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one job updates service. Okay. The job updates service will be having a subscribe method. Okay, this method will be invoked whenever client has received an acknowledgement and whenever client has uh, opened up a stream, right? Client wants to open up a stream, so it is like a client wants to subscribe for events on this particular URL. So we have to subscribe that client, right? So what all information we are going to get, we are going to get user ID. Okay, job ID, we have it here, right? Okay, okay, what we will be getting other than user ID and job ID, right? We also have to send the flux sync object. Okay, so how are you going to get that flux sync object is like this. Okay, so this method has to return a flux, right? Return, and it has to return a flux dot create. Okay, so we are not able to get the flux here, right? So let's go to our pom.xml and add the webflux spring starter webflux dependency to the pom.xml. So where is that? Yeah, we have it, this one, right? The web dependency. So let me copy it. Okay, instead of web, we can use webflux. Spring Boot starter webflux. Okay, that's all. Now we should be able to download the web dependencies into our project. So it's downloading. Download completed. Now we should be able to see the flux dot create method. Okay, so create method. Yeah. So to flux dot create, what we have to give, for every sync we are going to create, right? We have to call this method. Okay, we have to call this method, and whatever the sync that is created for it, right? We have to call the next method referenced on it. Okay, so this is how we are creating a flux, but for every flux it is going to create, and we have to map, and every message that we have to push it to this particular flux, right? We have to map that message how it should be sent. Okay, so that message, right, whenever the user wants to send that message to this particular flux, then we have to map that message like this: server sent event dot builder dot data. So whatever the message that was received, that was being published, right, or received to the middleware, that we have to send to this particular flux like this. Okay, when we tap it inside the data, then we have to use the build. So one thing that is missing here is the job updates service, right? Okay, so let's go and create the job update service here. Okay, we are already having the job updates service, right? Okay, that's fine. I don't want to use this one because this is opening up a listener, right? Okay, public class my or UI job updates service. Okay, this is how I'm going to create a class UI job update service, and I'm going to maintain a singleton reference for this class. Okay, public UI job update service get singleton refer. Okay, so UI job update service will be private. Okay, UI job update service. This is how we create a singleton object, right? With the double check within the synchronized. Okay, before then only we will create it, right? If it is already there, then we will return it. Okay, so we have the object here, the job update service, right? So we have to get that job update service here, UI job updates service dot. Okay, what we have to do to get this object, this should be the static one, right? Okay, what is the problem here? It is showing you cannot access it, right? Let's put this also static. So UI job update service dot get singleton ref will give you the UI job update service. Okay, this is what UI job update service. So for that we have to give it. Okay, so here we have to maintain, we have to create one subscribe method first. Okay, let me create a subscribe method here. So what it is going to take, public void subscribe, it is going to take user ID, and it is also going to take job ID, and it is also going to take the flux sync object, right? The listener that is created when our uh, a new client is established, right? Similarly, the flux sync object, the one which we want to send a message to this client, right? So java.util.consumer we have to take, yeah. So whenever there is a new client is connected and you are establishing and that client is subscribing to your event stream, right? So here in our job submit service, what we are doing, we are listening for updates here, right? So let us not listen for updates from here. So we will comment this out. Okay, we will just send the acknowledgement. So what this method is doing, our existing job update service, this one, right? So this is just opening up a thread or the JMS listener to the SQS, right? So that's what we are going to do in our job UI job update service. Okay. So here we need the job name. Job name can be the job ID, and we need the queue name, right? Okay, queue name. How did we create? String queue name is equal to uh, user ID underscore plus job ID plus dot 54. This is the queue name, right? That's what our thread method also needs. So we have to call the start method. So this will, whenever the client is established or the subscribed, right, we are starting a thread. Okay. So along with that, right, what we are going to do, we are going to maintain the list of client connections as well in a map. Okay. Private map of string, and what this is going to what this will be having as a value, it will be a consumer of the key. Okay. So this is will be SSE servers and event listeners map. Okay, new hash map. Okay, so this SSE listeners map will be having a key as the user ID or job ID. Okay, user ID plus job ID. This will be unique, right? So for each user who is submitting the job, that will be a unique subscriber connection will be there. If same user is submitting different jobs at the same time, right? Then different listeners or the different subscriptions will be there between UI and the middleware. Okay, so the value will be the listener, whatever that is created for that particular client connection. Okay, so SSC listeners map dot put. Okay, so whenever there is a connection established, we are subscribing that connection to that particular thread. Okay, like this. Similarly, there are some methods. Okay, like in this sync, there are some lifecycle methods like on cancel, on dispose, on request. Okay, suppose if you want to, suppose the user client connection is subscribed and we have started the thread. After the connection or the after the job updates are received completely from the middleware to UI, we have to close that subscription, right? So we have to close that event stream between the UI and middleware. So for that, we have some methods like on cancel, on dispose. Okay. So on cancel, let's override this one. Okay. So like this, this is an inline anonymous method. So there is a method in disposable add unimplemented methods. So this is the dispose method which we have to override, or when you want to handle some the subscription closing related activities. So on subscription closing, what I have to do, I have to cancel the subscription, right? So I have to remove the user from the list of maps. So SSE listeners map dot map dot remove. Okay, what is the key I have to use? I have to use user ID, job ID. Similarly, there is another method, sync dot on dispose. Okay, this also we have to override here. Actually, this is the method that gets invoked when the client is disconnected in such scenarios. Okay, where when the server is closing the connection. So here also what we will do the same thing. Similarly, we will put a logger here, client removed from listeners map. Okay, so we got the subscription. Okay, we have established the connection between UI and middleware for the updates, right? But where we are pushing the updates to the UI. Okay, before that there is some problem. Let's see that what is the problem here. Okay, it's done. So we have the subscribe method here now, right? Okay, so here what we have to pass, we also have to pass the sync. Good. So we have established the connection, but we have to push the updates. So where we are receiving the updates, we are receiving the updates in our callback, right? So from here we have to get our job updates service, UI job update service instance in our callback. Yeah, here, and there should be one method to publish the messages in our UI job update service. Okay, let's implement that first. Then we will go to our callback to publish the message. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a method public void publish. Okay, so this will be having a key to which client connection we have to publish the message and what is the message we have to publish to that particular user or the key. Okay, here SSE listeners we are already having, right? SSE listeners, where is that? Okay, that's fine. Okay, let me change the name LIS. So here we are having the list of client connections, right? So I'm going to get that set. Okay, so for each set there will be an entry, it returns, right? So for each entry there will key will be the user ID job ID combination, and the value will be the sync object or the consumer object. Okay, this will be the entries. right? So let's, oh, okay, map.entry. Okay, let me iterate through entries. So here we are getting each entry, right? So entry dot get key. If it is equals of the key that for which we are sending a message, we want to send a message, right? Then let's send the message to that user. Okay, entry dot get value dot. So here it is having the sync object, right? Accept of message. That's it. So this is a functional interface, right? The consumer is a functional interface, and it is having a accept method. So whatever message we send, right, it will send it to that particular sync, whatever the get value is referring to. Okay. So we are done with our publish as well. Okay, let me modify this. Okay. So we are done with our publish. Now let's go to our callback. Okay, so see here we are getting the message here, right? Message body, right? So whatever the message we receive, we have to publish it now. Okay. So here, yeah, let me come here. So yeah, UI job updates service equal to UI job dot get singleton ref. Okay. So on this one, UI job update service dot publish. So publish key, right? Key means user ID and the job ID combination. Job name here. Okay. Message means the message body. Okay. So what it is doing, whenever the message that has received into this queue, into this listener from the queue, it is calling the publish. So if it goes to our update service and it reads whenever there is an connection established between the UI and middleware, right? It will be there in that map. So it reads that map and pushes the message to that particular flux sync. So whenever you are putting a message, right? So it comes to your uh, job updates controller. Yeah, job updates controller. And here, if you see, it is sending the message as the data for the server sent event. Okay, so that's all. So let's run our client project. Okay, uh, yeah, let me run this client project now. Okay, this is my client project, and let me also run my server project. Okay, this is my server project. Okay, now my client and server both are running now, right? Okay, good. So let me put it here as two different windows. Okay, this is my server and this is my client. Okay, now what I'll do, I'll open up my browser as well. Okay, so let me open my browser. Okay, this is my browser. So what is the event listener we've opened up? Localhost colon 8080, because it is in our client project. Job updates. Here we have to pass the user ID and the job ID, right? So what is that I'm going to use? See, this is my submit job, right? Okay. So this is my app dev 6 and the job 6 is the user ID. So what I'll do, I'll submit a job from the Postman here, and after that I'll go to my browser and hit this service, because after submission only I have to open up a listener from UI to middleware, right? Okay, so let me submit this and open up a listener. Okay, app dev 6, let me put it here, and job 6. Okay, so let me go to Postman. So I have submitted a job. Okay, good. So here 404 not found. So what is the problem? Is there a problem with the URL? Okay, let me change it to small, submit small j. I think this should work. Let's see. Okay, what is happening here? We'll see. See, the job request is received in the server side, right? So what we will do, we will open up a listener here. Okay, let me put it here as a separate window. See, if you see here, the server is sending the messages, middleware is receiving the messages, and it is also pushing the updates to the client. Okay, so if you see here in the SQS, the SQS is still there. Okay, see, it is sending the messages to the SQS, right? To the UI as well, generating the reports, right? Server, client, server, middleware, and the client. Okay, and after that, what it is doing, it is closing the connection between the middleware and the server, and also removing the SQS from the AWS, and also removing the connection between UI and the middleware, that subscription list. Okay, now if you go and check this AWS console, the queue is deleted. Okay, so this is one of the way we have tested, right? Okay, good. Now what we will do, we will do one more submission and see, okay, how it works. Now this time what I'll do, okay, good. I'm going to create with the same user, I'm going to create different job. Okay, I'm going to submit different job. Okay, now let's see what happens. Let's wait for the messages to receive. See, it is receiving the messages, right? Okay, now what I'll do, I'll submit another job with the job 8. Okay, I will open up the listener for job 8 as well. Let's see what happens with this too. See, it has completed the updates, right? So job 8, whatever that we have submitted now, right? It started receiving the updates. Let me quickly submit job 9 as well before it ends. right? Job 9. Okay, let's see what all updates are flowing. See, job 8 completed successfully, but the job 9 is still going on, right? So while the job 9 is going on, let me submit the job 10 as well. I just want to show both updates. The respective updates are going to the specific event listener only. Okay, job 10 is submitted right now, right? Okay, now see, job 8, job 9 is getting the job 9 specific updates. Job 10 is not yet receiving the updates. Okay, by the time when it starts receiving the updates, see, job 10 is getting the updates here. Okay, you can also see we just put a delay, right, for 30 seconds to start updating the to start sending the updates. If you can remove it, and we can also see the job is, I mean, it is able to receive the updates for more than one client, and each client is able to receive the that client specific updates only. Okay, that's what I was trying to show here. Okay, so with this, what we have done today, we are able to send the messages asynchronously with an event stream between middleware and UI. Okay, so this one, right? Yeah. So with this, we are almost done with our tutorial series to implement the asynchronous communications, the server-sent event approach with the SQS, Java, JMS API, Spring webflux. So the only left out thing is the UI part. Instead of submitting our the job submit API from the Postman and also triggering the job updates API from the browser, right? What we will do, we will create one UI form with React.js. Okay, will submit the that will call the job submit API to middleware, and we will also open up an event stream listener to the middleware and will receive the updates. Okay, so that we will do it in the next video, and that would be our final video of this tutorial series of implementing the asynchronous communications with servers and event approach. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you all liked it. Thank you for watching. Please give it a like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.